Hi there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video it's all going to be about dyes and using the dyes from Rustic Barn Candles, how to get full and rich colours in your wax melts and candles as demonstrated here. As you can see, our dyes produce very strong colours. This is our red. It's very hard to get a red to come out this red, as maybe a lot of you might know. Reds in the industry, they come out very pink. As you can see here, it's a very strong and dark red. Also to note, the lack of frosting, no frosting. So one of the problems with dyes is that it has an effect with the wax that enhances frosting. So if you to use wax with no dye, you can get results of lower amounts or no frosting. But when you add dye, it increases the chances of frosting. It's just a chemical reaction. But as you can see here, there is no frosting. Just another advantage. Here's one of the little honeycombs that I will show you how to make in this video, as well as the face here. Welcome to Rustic Barn Candles, and here's a video of how to use our dyes. Okay, so for the first demonstration of the dyes here from Rustic Barn Candles, I've got certain dyes made specifically for me, so how I want them. So I want my dyes that I use in my products to be highly concentrated. There's a lot of dyes on the market from various places, and they're not highly concentrated. So you really want a highly concentrated dye. And you're always going to find a higher concentration dye in wax chips, so not in the liquid form. Because the liquid form has to stay a liquid and has to be very runny, you can't get as much concentration of dye colour into the liquid, because then it starts congealing, like it's not as liquidy. So that's always a negative of liquid dyes. They're never as highly concentrated. They still work okay, and some work really well, better than others, but they're never going to be as highly concentrated as chip dyes. So for the first shape, I'm going to be doing using the mould of the beehive. So it's just a silicone mould, very thick silicone. When you are buying your moulds, try and get the thick silicone. Here's an example of very thin silicone. I think I got this from eBay. Again, the problem with these are they're still going to work, but you have to be even more careful with your temperatures, because it can melt through very quickly because it's so thin. With these, they're a lot thicker if you can find them. There's loads around, but you've got to remember, try and find the thicker ones, because you can pour at high temperature, and you always want to try and pour at the highest temperature you can get away with. Okay, so taking into account your fragrance oil temperature, the higher the temperature you can pour, that's the temperature you want to pour at after you put obviously your fragrance oil in. So yeah, the first one's going to be beehive. I'm going to do it in an orange, and I'll do some other colours, some other shapes using the other colours a little bit later. Okay, so we've got the wax off the heat now, so it's all nice in liquid form. There's no dye in there yet. So again, I'm going to use the orange dye, Rustic Barn Candles own dye. It's made for me. So I'm going to get just a little pinch, a bit more than that, but you can use as much as you want. So I want it to be quite full colour, so very bright. So just a pinch and a half basically there going in, and then just stir that in. So it dissolves really easy, just keep stirring. Okay, so that's all nice and dissolved, only stirring for literally a minute there. You should be able to see that, so it's nice orange. Obviously, I'm not sure how well it's coming out in the camera, but just going to pour that in now. So just pour that straight in, all the way to the top. And that's it. So that's obviously going to go a darker colour as it dries. So I'll leave that one to dry. I'm going to do a couple in our other shaped mould, so you can see them in that. So for the face mould, I'm going to do it all in one colour, so I'm going to do it in red. You can do it in two colours. You can either pour and lay it slightly to the side, so then you have or 50-50 roughly, depending on how much slant you put on it. Or you can pour 2 at one time and it'll be a blended colours. But I'm just going to do it in the red. So again, Rustic Barn Candles, again made for me. This is by far my best selling dye because we have a very strong and dark red. So it's very hard to find a red that stays red. There's a lot of red dyes that turn to pinky shade. So it's hard to get a good red, but I'll show you how this one comes out in a little bit. But by far our best seller, as well as our black. These are the two hardest, I think it is the two hardest dyes to get pure of colour. So a pure dark red and a pure dark black. Very hard to get a dark black. So again, this is fantastic black, highly concentrated and works well in candles and wax melts. Okay, so it's all mixed in now. So that's our red dye, Rustic Barn Candles red dye. I'll pour that straight into the mould. Just pour slowly when you're pouring it. You can already see it's a beautiful rich red. Just get that level, don't want it too high.